Good evening, folks. Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, should we re-elect any of them? Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, I want to discuss the failures of our elected officials in regards to justice and the distribution of justice here in the city of Yonkers. Good evening, folks. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, I want to go over a little bit of what I spoke about last night in regards to CJ Hackett, but primarily I want to discuss, the failures of our elected officials, right? And should we elect them again for office? Several of them are going up for re-election. We have District 1. Actually, Shanae's now going to be running for a county. We have District 3, which I'm hearing, I just heard this today. I don't know how true this is, but Tasha Diaz is not running for re-election. I don't know how true that is. Just something I heard. Haven't verified it yet, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. Supposedly, she is not getting the same backing from her backers, which would be Zahi Jarris, which I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, the way he spoke about her, he really seemed to really care for her. But I do know that Hector Santiago, the individual who was removed in not such a polite way from the city council chambers the night that they voted on the term extension, will be running for District 3. Yes, he has announced it, at least on the Times, the Yonkers Ledger made an announcement, had an article on there, and he is going to run. He's made it official. I had mentioned this. I knew about this. And I also spoke to Hector a few days ago where he confirmed that he would be running for District 3. So if Tasha Diaz is still going to be in that race, then I now say that Hector Santiago will be the person challenging her. Initially, a woman by the name of Raquel Ali was going to run, and I don't know if that's still out because she's technically not out of it. She can still run, but she no longer lives in the district. She was one of the individuals who wanted to run, but was redistricted out of 3, and Ron Matten was redistricted out of 5, but I hear he's still running. So, I don't know if she's going to run again, but as it stands now, we have Tasha Diaz, possibly, maybe not, and Hector Santiago. And then we have District 5, where Ron Matten made the announcement, in a really, dramatic fashion, right? The night of the districting maps meeting over at the Will Library, he announced that he still intended on running for District 5. Didn't matter if he was district out, right? They drew him out, right? His house is the only one. It's like, no, kidding, right? So he's going to be running. I presume, and as many as everyone else does, that Mike Breen will be running again for re-election. Yeah, right. And then we have the mayor's race, as we all know. The mayor finagled his way to a fourth, to get the fourth, or the ability to run for a fourth term. And so he will be running for re-election. But do they deserve to be reelected? And let's just be honest, right? This is not about the incumbents, right? It's not anti-incumbents, not anti-Spano, but let's just really look at what has happened, what has transpired in the past, even past year, right? The past year with the death of CJ Hackett and also the death of Detective Sergeant Frank Gauldino. And that, I think, has opened up a lot of people's eyes, if they weren't already opened, or at least really just angered people who already knew about this nepotism and this corruption and how things are covered up here. And they just finally have had enough. They're fed up. It's not okay what's happening. And we all see it. We all see it very clearly now. Last night, I spoke with Carolyn Solari, the aunt of AJ, the teenage boy that was with CJ Hackett the night he was hit by a drunk driver, who later was identified as Stephen Dolan, a city employee who decided to leave the scene of the crime after stopping looking back and realizing he had hit a boy. He realized what he did. Dolan decided not to stay and assist CJ's friend, who was left alone, to call 911. What would happen next is being questioned by everyone except those tasked with investigating the incident. The family, as well as others, believe Dolan may have had help. Dolan isn't just a city resident. He is tied to the nepotism system that I have been speaking about. His dad is a retired Yonkers police detective who is very connected. His uncle, also a retired Yonkers police officer as well. Many are wondering if Dolan called his dad that night. They're also questioning, did the police find out who it was that same night? Did they catch him that night? It's now a known fact that police initially radioed in that they had a person, that they had caught the person. However, police would later say that it was the wrong guy. But was it? If it wasn't, why did it take police 3 days to find Nolan? There were over 20 cameras along the route. Did any of them capture the plate, the car, anything? Are they going to show it if they have footage of any surveillance cameras? Why was Dolan not caught sooner? Dolan went about his life as if he had not just killed a boy, a 16-year-old boy. To make the case more suspicious, police called in the father of CJ's friend, AJ, after he came onto my show to discuss some of the details I have just mentioned. They asked him to come down to the detective's headquarters or division to go over what was said on my podcast. Interesting. One of the comments that the officers or detectives investigating the case took offense to was that Mr. Solari had said that Dolan had been right under their noses the entire time, to which they responded, he wasn't under our noses, he was over at City Hall. Now, what does that mean? Right? Either way, he was right there all along under the nose of the mayor and the city council members. So when did they discover who the driver was? And again, was there any surveillance footage? And what about phone records? Have phone records been requested? Why are the elected officials so quiet? Not one has made mention of the CJ Hackett case, nor have they discussed ways to prevent another innocent child from being killed by a drunk driver employed by the city. The death of CJ Hackett is more than just a case of a bad decision made by what detectives describe as a good man. Good man who had something bad happen to him. That's what detectives said. This isn't just another drunk driving incident that caused the death of a child. This is about deep-rooted nepotism in it, which is a form of political corruption that has tried to silence anyone with information from speaking publicly, in both the death of CJ Hackett and in the death of Detective Sergeant Frank Gauldino. Why haven't we, the people, heard anything more about the death of Detective Sergeant Frank Gauldino? In fact, we haven't heard whether the 16-year-old boy who was driving the car, the unlicensed driver who crashed into soon-to-be retired Officer Frank Gauldino, has made it. Is he alive? Is he still in a coma? What is the result of his, or what is his status? What is his status? Sources have said nothing will come about. Sources have told me nothing will come about this case in terms of anyone being prosecuted, and it's pretty much a closed case from what I'm hearing. So will we elect or re-elect these elected officials who are now sitting in office, who have done nothing in either case, have not mentioned it, have not asked questions, have not stood with the people who have asked questions, or with the family who have a lot of questions? They haven't spoken about anything that they plan on doing in order to prevent another incident like CJ Hackett's death, or even Detective Sergeant Frank Gauldino's death from happening. Not a peep. Nothing like what John Rubel did when the shooting happened in Duos. Right away, he held a press conference. He had the Yonkers voice out there, and he was calling for the mayor to shut down Duos. And it was shut down. And now the building is for sale. And if you're interested, you can call Henry D. John Balaj. He is the agent that has it listed, right? So why aren't they demanding more, our elected officials? Why aren't they demanding more answers for both the Hackett family and Detective Sergeant Gauldino's family. Where is John Rubo? Where is David Tubiolo at? CJ Hackett was hit in District 4, district that Councilman John Rubo currently represents, an area and also part of David Tubiolo's district. And now, they make themselves visible for a lot of reasons, but haven't been visible for this. David Tubiolo loves to take pictures and post them up, giving proclamations to businesses. But where is the, information? Where is the, the action to stop this, to prevent this? As John Rubo said, nip it in the bud. Is that why David Tubiolo is going around getting signatures for speed bumps? Will that prevent a drunk driver from hitting a kid again? So where are our elected officials? Right? Where are they? John seems to be more concerned with real estate, which is the only reason he rallied to have duels closed down after the shooting. Well, what about alibi, John? What about that bar? Why didn't you mention that bar or that business after the death of CJ Hackett? Why didn't you call on the mayor to do something about the bars that have caused problems time and time again on McLean? And this is not in personal and an attack toward the businesses there and the business owners. It's not. I'm just making a point. Why is it that some businesses are targeted when something happens and others are not even mentioned? It wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that the business, the bar in particular, was owned by a relative of the mayor. David Tubiolo, now a Democrat, is going to, stick to recognizing restaurants on McLean, not drunk drivers. I wonder if David Tubiolo gave alibi a proclamation. David Tubiolo is doing photo ops. I wonder how much might be hidden more because of the owner of the establishments who overserved a customer who caused a fatality. Exactly. So why isn't John Rubo? Why isn't County Legislator David Tubiolo speaking about the amount of drinks being served at these bars? That's a topic of discussion, wouldn't you say? I mean, Stephen Nolan admitted to having 17 drinks. 17 drinks. Now, I'm not saying they were all at one bar, but I'm sure at a certain point, the last bar he was at saw how intoxicated he was and should have said something, cut him off, advise him to call a cab. It's not like he was a stranger. I'm sure he knew the people there, the bartenders. I'm sure he was a familiar face. So why isn't John Rubo? Why isn't County Legislator David Tubiolo or any of our elected officials, the mayor, calling on bars to be more responsible in the amount of drinks that they serve? I mean, not only CJ Hackett is no longer with us because of it, but that incident with the police officer, the sergeant, puts our first responders in danger when you have highly intoxicated individuals so drunk that they don't care that the police are there. And that's not good. That female officer could have gotten hurt unless she was prepared to shoot one of them. And has she done so, forget it. Then we would have seen our elected officials come out, right? They would have rallied for the guys she shot. Because it's not like our elected officials aren't known for putting on rallies and protests to seek justice. We've seen them do it many times, just not for people in the city of Yonkers. If you're killed in another state and you don't get the justice you deserve, you can count on our elected officials to stand up and say something about it. But if you're killed here by a drunk driver and he is employed by the city, silence. Crickets, not a word. Because they are controlled. They are told when to speak and when not to speak. And so we have a decision to make this year. Do we reelect the puppets? And do we reelect the puppet master? And if we do, I believe that we will be doing an injustice to both C.J. Hackett, his family, and Detective Sergeant Frank Gauldino and his family. Shame on them for allowing this to be covered up, silenced, and forgotten about. We won't let that happen, not here on Basement Politics. That's for sure. That's for sure. It's not fair. It's not right. To get answers, you will have to photobomb Rubo and Tubiolo. You know, they go around giving proclamations. They go around taking pictures, smiling, doing all this nice, fun stuff. But when it comes down to really doing work, where are they? Serious issues, where are they? They recently passed some legislation that had to do with exotic animals. Okay, great. And this is all because one resident has an interest in protecting exotic animals, which is okay. But how does one resident get them to move and act so quickly to pass legislation for exotic animals when I don't see any in Yonkers? But they got it passed. We need a housing ordinance, still nothing. We need, obviously, some help with drunk drivers here in the city of Yonkers, especially those employed by the city, still nothing. Nothing. How many city employees have crashed city vehicles? Tommy Tiedeman's son, DPW employee, crashed a vehicle. Whatever happened to the blood test he was supposed to go get? Did they ever do the blood work to see if he had alcohol in his system? No, because his dad is Tom Tiedemann, good friends with Tom Meyer, commissioner of DPW and chairman of the Democratic Committee or Democratic Party here in Yonkers. It's not like they learned a lesson, folks. When did C.J. Hackett get hit by Stephen Dolan and die? That was in August of last year. Yet and still, I can show you a DPW supervisor heading to the bar, having a bunch of drinks in a DPW vehicle, and driving home. So they don't learn anything. And since our elected officials have remained quiet about it, they know nothing will happen. That's not okay. There should have been a major crackdown. No employee in the city of Yonkers should dare go to a bar with a city car after C.J. Hackett was killed. Yet and still they do. Poor leadership. And it's affecting us. It's killing our loved ones. Unbelievable. When people realize that the mayor has yet to be publicly asked a single tough question about the C.J. Hackett or Sergeant Gauldino incidents, they'll realize why the Spanners are way too comfortable where they are, to just leave when their time is supposed to be up. That's what they're hoping. Now, one peep from the mayor. It was one of your employees, Mayor. And the fact that you have employees, Mayor, still driving drunk in city vehicles after this happened says a lot about your leadership, Mayor. Or maybe you should get rid of Tom Meyer because it's his guys. That's right, Mayor. I have the pictures. I have the video. Supervisors who work for you, Mayor, ultimately driving drunk in city vehicles after One of your employees killed a 16-year-old boy driving drunk in your relative's bar. And not a peep. They should sue the bar. They should sue the city. They should definitely sue Stephen Dolan, get their attorney to get subpoena power and get copies of those phone records, get cameras that may be in the area, any footage they may have, get records of the radio calls that were being transmitted that day by police. And that's not going to be, that's not going to do anything to bring CJ back. It's not going to do anything to bring Detective Sergeant Gauldino back. But what it will do is hold some people accountable and hopefully prevent this from happening again, because they obviously have not learned the lesson. Thank God that that guy that's still driving the DPW vehicle after he leaves the bar almost every day hasn't killed anyone. Imagine that. Another DPW guy killing another person because they were driving drunk in a city vehicle. So who's in charge of checking that? Who? No one had a talk with any of the staff? Say, hey, anyone gets caught drinking, driving a city vehicle, even if you're off the job and you get caught driving drunk, you're done. But they get away with it. They get away with doing drugs on the job. That's the problem. We have poor leadership, and these elected officials want us to vote them in again this year. I say no. It's time for real leadership. There's so much that needs to be done, more than just building tall buildings. It's a lot more that needs to be done. And it starts with cleaning house. While we can talk about education, we can talk about housing, we can talk about the homelessness, we can talk about quality of life. That's all fine and dandy. But we need to clean house. That is number one. Cleaning house. Enough of the nepotism, enough of the corruption. How many more people have to die? It's sickening that individuals who work for the city, for the same damn department as Stephen Dolan, would continue to drive drunk in city vehicles. The audacity, the complete disregard for human life, disregard for the people of the city of Yonkers, and disregard for CJ Hackett and his family. That's a slap in the face. Car 500, go get them. You want the videos? You want the pictures? Unbelievable that this would still be happening. And that goes to show that nothing is done about it. They get away with it. And they have been, and they will continue to, as long as we continue to vote the same individuals in. Enough is enough. There is not poor leadership. There is no leadership, just very poor management. I'll agree with that too. There's no leadership, no management, money mismanagement, employee mismanagement, city mismanagement. These individuals pretty much have the city of Yonkers as their playground. It's not their money. Doesn't matter how they spend it, as long as it ends up in their pocket somehow. Their concern is not the safety of the people, but letting certain individuals do whatever they want, as long as that will help them remain in power. Sure, Tom Meyer and Tom T, do whatever you want. Let your son do whatever he wants. Crash up cars. How many cars did Sinead crash? What about Corazon? Did they give them blood work? They're supposed to. And why do they still have a car? I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And for all people that say, oh, Mayor Spano's done a great job. Look at the city, how much has improved. How has it improved? Tall buildings is not an improvement. Where's the improvement? They created daylight, right? They got the Sawmill River now coming out. Looks all nice, right? Until they find a body or two in there, which they have. Garbage, shopping carts, the line bikes. Those tall buildings, those luxury buildings, you got people sleeping in the lobby. The elevators for the parking lots don't work. People can't get to work because they can't get their car out of the garage. Poop all over the place now because everybody's got a little poodle. Traffic everywhere. The roads suck. Worse than ever before. I don't remember a time the roads have ever been so bad. So what has improved? And so why should we re-elect them? I would like to know who has the contract to tow these city vehicles after these questionable accidents. That's your answer. I know AJ Towing has a contract. I believe they may have been the ones that towed the van that Stephen Dolan was driving. Tom Tiedemann is connected to the owner of AJ Towing. I believe he rents property from him. Nepotism, and nothing, against the company. The towing company is a businessman just doing business. I get it. He didn't do anything wrong. He's going to play the game the best way he can. But our elected officials, they are the ones that we hold accountable. They are the ones that allow this to go on and continue. And so it may not be your child today, but if we don't stop this, it could be your child tomorrow. They don't care about our kids' safety or their education. They sent a bunch of people up to rally at the state. Great. They've done that before. And what has that gotten us? They sent a group of people once before to get $25 million. And depending on who you ask, everybody's taking credit for it. Everybody takes credit for it. I got the $25 million more dollars. I got the $25 million more dollars. And what did that do? How was that allocated? How did that improve the school district? Is the only answer we have is begging the state, sending a bunch of people up there to rally so elected officials could put it on their Facebook and say, hey, look at what we're doing. Begging the state once again to help Yonkers, because we give all our money up to these employees who then turn around and drive drunk and have disregard for human life. And so enough is enough. And so it's time for change. And we need to represent right. We need to support the right candidate, get behind the candidate that is strong, that can get the job done, that will clean house and focus on what it is we need to improve on. Let's get past this part of our history and let's look forward to a brighter future, Yonkers. And we can have all the lovely things that they've promised us, but in a way that truly benefits the people here. Because they are the only ones that's benefiting. They're going to do a riverfront park and name it Leonard Spano Park, right across from his property at 132 Fernbrook. Isn't that lovely? Why don't we just change the name of Yonkers? Let's call it Spano Town. How about that? You have Nepotism Row, Corruption Way. Enough is enough. You had your time, 12 years. Thank you very much. Now it's time for someone to pick up from here. And let's get those term limits back to 2, because that's what the people wanted. And if the people want a 3rd term, then so be it. But until the people vote for it, we shouldn't have any more than 2. And so the next mayor needs to bring that back to 2 terms. It's time to clean house. Time to drain the swamp, as they say. And this is a bipartisan effort. It's not about Democrat or Republican. This is about the people. So, folks, don't commit just yet. Petition season is going to start February 28th. If you've signed a petition already, it's illegal. Doesn't count. And you can get in trouble. So don't do it. Petition season starts February 28th. Don't just sign for anybody. If you've been brought a bag of food, guess what? You'll get bags of food still. Promise you that. It's not going to stop. The food distribution is not going to stop if Tasha Diaz is not there, if Mike Spano's not there, if Shanae's not there, if Corazon's not there. It's not going to stop. Unless these, churches and these nonprofit like Feeding Westchester are going to say, well, I'm not going to feed people unless it's Tasha giving it to them. Is that how it works? I don't think so. Right, Feeding Westchester? It's not going to stop. I promise you that. Because if they stop, I'll pick it up. I'm already doing my own part here. What's the difference? Time that we vote these people out. I'm sorry. It's time we vote these people out. Yes, the tow truck company is just doing business, but they must have to keep a record of the driver of the vehicle involved in an incident, and a record has to be kept of all incidents associated with any city driver. Yeah, you're right. Hopefully they keep those records, but, might have misplaced them. Hey, happens sometimes, right? At the end of the day, we can't keep trying to keep track of these individuals. We have to just vote them out. Just vote them out. The easiest thing to do to get justice for all the injustices, to change the city for the better, is to go out and vote. If you're a Democrat, come out in the primaries and don't vote for the candidate that's been endorsed by the corrupt Democratic Party here in the city of Yonkers. Remember, the chairman is Tom Meyer, DPW commissioner. He obviously is not a good leader. His guys are still driving drunk in DPW vehicles, even after one of them killed a 16-year-old boy. No leadership. So just because the Democratic Party endorses a candidate, that's not the right candidate. Does not mean it's the right candidate. So Democrats, you guys are going to play a major role in these elections and who is leading this city moving forward for at least the next 4 years. You must make a smart and informed decision. It's time for change. What they're doing here is not for the average person of the city of Yonkers. And so you must understand that. Why do you think people from Yonkers are not being hired on these jobs? They don't care about you. They want you to leave. Bottom line, they want you to leave. The mayor doesn't have any sympathy for people who can't afford the increasing expenses and cost of living here in the city of Yonkers. He says, well, that's what happens. He created it. He invited them in here. And that's what we have now. Try to FOIA city documents from 1970s. They will tell you that they were lost in a flood. True story. I believe it. I believe it. That's how they hide the corruption. And I'm sure if Spano loses, they're going to be shredding a lot of documents. They're going to be burning. You're going to see smoke coming out of the chimneys of City Hall for the first time in a long time. I don't doubt it. But folks, we have to make a smart decision. We have to do this for CJ Hackett, justice for CJ, justice for Detective Sergeant Frank Gauldino. Because if we don't do it, our elected officials will not. They could care less. Their concern is being reelected, maintaining their position, enriching themselves and their family members through the nepotism system that they all take part in, enjoy, and want to protect. It's time for change. I'm Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics Unfiltered. Thank you, folks. I appreciate you watching and supporting. And I want to shout out to all the new viewers and new followers. Thank you for watching. Thank you for talking about it. Again, I want you to be very clear. I don't make a penny doing this. I volunteer my time because I want to bring transparency to the people of Yonkers. I want to give you guys the truth as best as I can. I may make a mistake, but I will correct myself. I promise you that, and it's not done with intentions. I'm here to support and represent you, the people of the city of Yonkers. I got your back and your back only. And it's time that we vote for change. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Thank you, folks. I love you. I appreciate it. And continue to watch, share the show, and let people know. By the way, you can reach me at politicwithfred@gmail.com. Give me any information. To the officers who may have caught Stephen Dolan that night, send me the information, man. Do the right thing. God's always watching. Do the right thing, guys. Do the right thing. I'm up out of here. Thank you, folks. Enjoy your rest of the evening. I'm going to go spend time with my wife and my kids. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. You have a Valentine's? I do. 25 years with my Valentine's. I can't wait to celebrate another one. Tomorrow's going to be a special day. Lots going to happen.
Freddie wins.
I am Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Folks, I'm just here trying to do my part. So continue supporting the page, the podcast, let people know. It's really amazing how much it's grown, how much people are talking about it, and how much, it has impacted, the city of Yonkers here. We have done some change. We are making some noise. So continue to follow, folks. I appreciate it. Thank you. And let's make it equal here. We need equality in the way jobs are distributed, right? We're still waiting for a job. Maybe if you vote for change, you may get a call. You never know.
Freddie wins.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me, and I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some butter chicken. So thank you.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me, and I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
Freddie wins.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins.